So tell us a little bit, Spenser, what you've been up to these days and how things have changed for you before we get going a bit more with the schedule of today.
So for me, doing what I do in my day-to-day life, I've all of my corporate clients obviously stopped for a period of time, and so we had that from not all, 80% of them did. 20% of them carried on going and wanted more, so they increased their spend with me because they wanted more. Companies contacted me wanting me to do my 12-month program within 3 weeks. People from other parts of the world as well. You know, a law firm in Liverpool contacted me that I'd never heard of before. A fund management company in Holland contacted me, and so I've taken those guys on as clients. But I have an online program anyway, so we just lent into selling my online program, my Make It Happen University, and so that has spiked because everybody's wanting to consume stuff that they can learn from at the moment. And then in my other businesses, the wealth management business, obviously the markets went down, so we had a rush of people wanting to invest, so that was positive. Interestingly, in the medical insurance business that I've got, companies started to want to spend more money on medical insurance than they'd provided for their staff previously. So not all, but some of them did, because of fears around, you know, people's medical conditions. Interestingly, the first stage training business that I've got, all the nurses, I've been asking them for 9 months to put everything into video format so that the first aid training can be done online. And it's like, oh, you know, I don't like being on video, I'm not good on camera, I don't like all that kind of stuff. And so I had a conversation with 3 of them 3 weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, and I said, you've got 2 choices, you've got redundancy or you've got digital, so what would you like? And within 2 days, the nurses had filmed everything. It was edited, and everything is now online within 2 days. Okay, so yes, it's been interesting to see. But you know, those girls, those nurses, have done thousands of workshops across the city in the last 3 years, and so doing thousands of workshops and then having none to do means that they have to be really creative about how they can be valuable. And so, yeah, that's probably the one that, from a revenue perspective, has dropped a little, but the other ones, the revenue has spiked, and so from that perspective, I suppose it's all okay. But yeah, it's very interesting times, but fun times as well. You know, guy lives next door but one to me. He's an Amazon reseller, and he doesn't know what to do with himself. He's going crazy. He has to keep telling the kids to shut up so he can get his work done. And so there are people out there. Maz Sheikh's a friend of mine. He owns Stars Play. And he's just like that. You know, he couldn't be happier right now. But obviously I work a lot with the real estate industry, and so the real estate brokers are, without being able to do viewings, are in a difficult place because they've just relied on generating leads from lead gen campaigns from either portals or from PPC campaigns or whatever. And so it's now like I've been telling you for the last 2.5 years that you need to produce content online, you need to be valuable online, you need to be identified online, and that penny's just starting to sink in, you know.
Yeah. And what about you, Dr. Corrie? What has been your experience so far? We still have another 6 minutes to get in, so it's just the
80-20 rule has the 80-20 rule has applied to me too. About 80% of my clients have stopped everything, and 20% have accelerated. So I'm still doing training with AdNoc, for example. They've just shifted everything online, and very happy to do that, and very happy to, you know, work with somebody that has experience doing that, right? So yeah, they like that. I'm shifting a lot of my material also online. I've produced my first course for Udemy because I don't have my own course hosting site. I've been teaching through Monarch Business School for years, and before that through the Graduate Institute for Applied Linguistics in Texas for a number of years, postgraduate stuff. But now I've pivoted all of my research and materials online, and I'm producing a series of 6 courses for Udemy so that people have access to the stuff without me actually being there. It's fun. I've set up a little studio in my house, and I'm recording about a whole course a week, and I'm doing the editing myself. One of my first companies was a media company in Estonia. So it's been years and years since I've worked on an editing deck, but yeah, it's all coming back.
need to get into learning so many other things and tasks when we're into this, right? We need to expand that. I have to know how to edit and post-produce, and when I was in media and stuff, everything is about being hands-on nowadays, right?
Yeah, that's right.
RJ, what has been your experience so far? Another 5 minutes to go.
Well, yeah, just to let you guys know, I wear many hats. I wish I had just as many heads back here in the Philippines. And well, one of the biggest things which one of the things I do is I'm actually a professional events host and lifestyle host and a television presenter. And obviously all those jobs, which included motivational speaker, they're all canceled right now, or they've been all postponed. So that's one part of the business which I do. But the other things which I do, I run 3 different companies which I put up. I'm more of a serial entrepreneur. And the thing is, the reaction to the what we call here the enhanced community quarantine. That's what we call the lockdown, enhanced community quarantine, ECQ. Is that one of them is the business where I met Lorenzo is called Enter PH. It's actually a consultancy firm that helps foreign businesses offshore or outsource to the Philippines. So we take care of the BPOs, the KPOs, or other businesses which want to bring their services here. And the interesting about this one is that when the crisis occurred, our business actually improved for outsourcing, because there are many, the States, Dubai, many of them actually are saying for cost recovery purposes, or we need to lower our costs, we can do it here for a fraction of the cost that they're doing it in other countries, in other first world countries. So that business is doing pretty well. And if you think of it as doing opportunities in crisis, there are many distressed businesses. They are running out of working capital. They won't be able to run in the next couple of months. We're actually putting together all these distressed companies and offering them silently to business match them with potential investors, whether locally or abroad. So that's opportunity in crisis for you. Another business which I run is called Easy Franchise, where it's a digital platform that matches franchisors with potential franchise investors from the Philippines. And we have a large Filipino diaspora, large expat community. And because of that one, many of them are actually abroad. And they send money over here. So they want to they want to buy franchises here in the Philippines. We've had to stop doing the franchising because people aren't doing business, but there's been an increase in inquiries for people who want to buy essential businesses like drugs, like convenience stores, pharmaceuticals, water refilling, laundromats, businesses which were allowed to remain open during the lockdown. The inquiries for them have actually increased. And last but not the least, I run a business called Mercato Central. We're sort of like the largest, we are the largest night food market in the Philippines. If you're familiar in Singapore, the hawker market there, I run the biggest hawker market here in the Philippines. We've got 50 plus vendors who come over to our place. And it's also a small food business incubator. So we've had to close that down because all places of mass gathering where you have people who are 10 or more have been closed down. One night we're able to gather 3,000 people and the business has been shuttered for this period. So what we've had to do is really think creatively and innovatively and shift our business model, because we've realized that my delivery platform of being a brick and mortar business doesn't work. But then because everybody's shifting online, then I had to quickly, in 2 weeks, pivot to doing an online business model where I still continue to serve both my B2B clients, my vendors, and my B2C clients, my people who go to the market. But it's still quite a challenge because, you know, everybody's on a skeletal force. Everybody's working from home. So everything is being done via cell phone, via text, via whatever. But the thing is, everybody's just learning on the fly right now. Like I said, you know, the biggest change agent for our digital transformation is not the CEO or the CIO, but rather COVID-19. So, all these things are happening. And because I'm a TV presenter, for the past, this is where Lorenzo saw me, for the past couple of 3 weeks, I've been nonstop online giving Facebook Live sessions for the government, for an agency called the Philippine Center for Entrepreneurship. We've been talking to different industries, agencies, big companies, small companies, the departments, just to see how are people coping, how are they pivoting, and what to do during these times of crisis. And I'm hoping to share some of the insights that that I've gained having to talk across different industries over here. And I'm looking forward to hearing from you, gentlemen, because hopefully we get to share what they're doing in Dubai here in the Philippines.
Great. Well, thank you, RJ, for that. And yeah, it's 10 a.m. I think we are getting a good response. We have about 69, 70 people connected. We had about 150 people confirm their interest, so I think we have a few more coming in. But it's 10:01, so I think we can officially get started. Gentlemen, again, thank you so much for being here with us. It's a real pleasure to have you on this webinar, and we thank you for your time. For the attendees out there, we have three incredible tycoons of the business community. We have an international panel of people in the Philippines with RJ, Dr. Corrie, a very well-known consultant coach here in Dubai, and Spenser Lodge, of course, also quite a celebrity in the online webinar consultant, a business entrepreneur. So we're going to get to a brief introduction about each one of you. Perhaps, Spenser, we can start with you. Tell us a little bit about who you are, what brought you to Dubai. I think you've been in Dubai for 15 years. You've been involved in many businesses and starting many successful startups. So give us a quick introduction on who you are, please.
A working class kid that failed everything at school, stared out the window and was only interested in football. I think that's that's who I was at the very beginning. I learned and was trained how to be a salesperson professionally when I was very young. And I think the most important thing that I was taught was how to handle rejection. I remember when I was a 19-year-old kid in my first job, my boss said to me, you got to go and knock on 100 doors and you've got to make 100 cold calls every day. And I want you to remember that when you make those 100 cold calls, I need you to find 99 people that say no. And as a kid, you don't question it when your boss tells you to do stuff. And so I was like, okay, fine. And he's like, the reason I want you to get those 99 no's is that you have to find 99 no's before you find a yes. And so from that moment onwards, every time I made a phone call, whenever anybody gave me a rejection, anyone said no, it was like, okay, fine, no problem at all. I need 99 no's anyway. And so it taught me to understand that rejection wasn't something that a lot of people fear. And then I got from the office equipment industry at Rank Xerox in London into financial services. I've lived in 10 countries now, and I came to Dubai 15 years ago, again, building financial services businesses. And then decided in 2012 it was time to go and set up a business myself, and did that exactly after growing other businesses, and went through all the challenges I think that a lot of people go through. Your doubt, your self-esteem, your faith in things happening and all that kind of stuff. And then a couple of guys walked in my office one day with a piece of software, and they wanted to do a JV with somebody. They didn't really know how to monetize what they had. I didn't understand the software. All of the competitors in my space they'd been to, we were the last one, and everyone had said no to them. So I was a bit offended at first. I was the last one that they approached. And then when we understood what they had, it enabled us to then expand our business out from being a financial services player to an insurance broker to a HR administration platform called Benapol that we've run and built out. But my passion has always been sales, like really always been sales. And I was offended by a girl, the most beautiful girl I'd ever met when I was a kid, in a bar, when I think she was hoping to meet an investment banker or a lawyer or something. And she realized she was being chatted up by a sales guy. And I realized that salespeople weren't really respected. And so for me, it was trying to get the world to understand that whether you're an accountant, a lawyer, an architect, in change management, if you're in administration, operations, whatever it is, if salespeople don't bring the revenue through the door, then you don't have a job. So show these guys a bit of respect and allow them to be people that are regarded as professionals. And so then I've built out a platform to try and train salespeople to be really effective at what they do. And that's got 27 years of my experience in. So that's pretty much what I've done. I've been lucky enough to build companies that are worth quite a lot of money now. But to be honest with you, it's because I've got epic people around me. I've got genuinely people that are way more talented than me, that are building those businesses, and I couldn't have done it without them. So I suppose I'm an ideas man. I'm quite creative, but I've been very adept at being able to find really talented people that have been very loyal. I mean, some with me for 20 years, some with me for 15 years now.
Right. Well, thank you for that. Thank you. And for all the attendees that are joining, we have about 95 people now connected. We're doing a small introduction onto our panelists and who they are. So Dr. Corrie, we can continue with you. Tell us a little bit about your experience, your life here in Dubai. And you have to tell the story behind that duck behind you.
Okay. Look, the duck is my spirit animal. And it's because it's very elegant looking creature. When you watch it on the pond, its feathers are all in place. Everything looks fine. It looks like nothing can ever possibly bother it. But just below the surface of the water where you can't see, it is paddling like crazy to get from where it is to where it needs to be. And so that's my spirit animal. Very elegant, very put together on the top, but underneath everything, I am moving like crazy to make everything happen. Look, in terms of my background, I'll give you the elevator pitch. I've been 8 years here in Dubai, 5 years in Yemen before that, 8 years in Estonia before that. I've started 7 companies of my own. I do academics as a hobby. I am a postgraduate professor of strategic management at Monarch School of Business in Switzerland. I hold 2 master's and 2 doctorate degrees, and none of that should be very impressive because I don't watch football and I don't collect classic cars. I read and write journal articles and training programs for executives. And now I've kind of earned the right in my life to do whatever I want. So what I like to do more than anything else is artificial intelligence and employee engagement. And so I'm a solopreneur in my 7th company. I am the only employee, and I take on the clients that I choose, and I basically just do whatever I want now, which is great. In times of quarantine, I can quarantine and still be at work. But it's been really, really fun. And so now I concentrate on those 2 things. So executive coaching, board advisory work, corporate restructuring, and employee engagement. I think those are my big people passions. And then on the technology side, it's artificial intelligence and augmented cognition.
Excellent. Well, we're going to get deep into some of those topics. And of course, the topic of today is rethinking business strategies. We're going to hear from all of you. What is the situation that we're going through? How can the companies cope with it? We've got different scenarios. We've got companies that are being very badly affected. Some of them that are managing to work remotely and to still deliver their services and products. Mm-hmm. And then we've got companies that are actually doing really well during this time. So we're going to get into that in just about 2-3 minutes. Now, RJ, if you can give us a quick introduction on who you are, what you've been doing, and how is a little bit of the Philippines going through.
Yeah, sure. No problem. So, thanks so much. Anyway, my name's RJ Ledesma. I'm actually a man of many hats. I wish I had just as many hats, like I shared earlier with Dr. Corrie and Spenser over there. I worked after college here in the Philippines. I worked for Procter & Gamble here as a brand manager in the Philippines. After that one, I pursued my master's degree in real estate development from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Then I came back here to work in the Philippines. But really, one of my passions is a lot of speaking and talking. So in the Philippines, I've actually been a television host, presenter, events person. And I've hosted many shows over many years, from news to comedy to variety. And one of the shows I've been doing recently is called Bright Ideas. That's a show I do for Bloomberg Philippines. And in that show, I talked to a lot of the startups that have been successful and not successful, trying to pick up their different best practices. And right now, what I do a lot of is I'm a serial entrepreneur. I have 3 different businesses. And I often go around sharing what I call the entrepreneurial mindset, teaching people how to think like an entrepreneur, to find what are really the opportunities that you can spot that people don't easily spot, how to create businesses which are scalable, which solve real problems. I help them think through those things. So right now, I run 3 businesses. The first one is called Easy Franchise. We help franchise owners, people who own franchises. We business match them with the franchise investors, people who want to buy franchises and put them up. Particularly, there's a large expatriate population of Filipinos in Dubai, about 800,000 at least documented. So many of them who have extra money from Dubai and want to put up a business in the Philippines, they come to us. We help them put up franchises. And if they can't run it themselves, we actually run that franchise for them. We have franchise management service. The second thing I do also is I have a business called Enter PH, where I help foreign businesses set up shop in the Philippines, basically businesses that want to outsource or offshore their businesses in the country. And what's been happening right now, particularly for this crisis, it's just like you said, it's accelerated the number of people actually who want to do business over here because number one is if they are a BPO or a knowledge process outsourcing business, they're trying to save their money. So they want to bring it here in the Philippines because we can do the same business at a fraction of the cost. So instead of hiring an all Filipino staff and paying them a Dubai salary, you can send one person here to the Philippines and hire the complete staff in the Philippines to do exactly the same type of work. And you're paying them a good living wage here in the Philippines. And last but not the least, I also run a business called Mercato Central, which is the largest night food market in the Philippines. If you've been to Singapore, you've seen their hawker markets. We run the largest one here. We've had to close down because of the lockdown here in the Philippines. So we've had to quickly pivot and change our business model. And I'm very glad to discuss what we're doing over there. Just a shout out to all the friends, all the Filipinos na nasa Dubai ngayon. Mabuhay kayo lahat. Ipagdasal niyo yung Pilipinas. We all need your help here right now. And of course, I go to Dubai a lot to give entrepreneurial talks as well. And we're hoping to get more Filipinos based in Dubai to help invest and help support the Philippines as we bounce back from this crisis.
Great, RJ. Thank you. And we're starting to have a few questions coming in from the audience. Now, the main topic is how is this affecting? How are we adjusting to this? And who are the ones to benefit? So, Dr. Corrie, if you can give us a quick idea on which are the industries that are doing well, which ones are the ones being affected, and most of all, we have a lot of our clients from CreativeZone here. We have about 100 people connected. They want to see how they're able to adapt to the situation. How they make the most out of what's happening, and what's sort of the light at the end of the tunnel that is coming up.
Sure. So, I mean, the basic rules of business still apply. Find a problem and solve it. That's how you make money in any environment. And so the environment has shifted a little bit, but those who figure out what the problem is, lack of ventilators, lack of medical supplies, increased demand for sanitizer in terms of product. If you identify those opportunities and you solve them, then you're going to make money. There's obviously going to be winners and losers in any major economic shift. But the winners these days that I can see, banks have a great opportunity here. FMCG has an amazing opportunity. Online entertainment, anything that produces entertainment online, like you mentioned, Stars Play is doing very well in this environment. Netflix is doing very well in this environment. Productivity software. So from a digital standpoint, anything that produces or supports remote working or remote transparency, that's helpful. Pharma is clearly doing well. Baby supply, I think, is going to do well, especially in about 9 months from now. Anybody that's producing products for babies,
our future quarantines, TENS.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's going to be it'll be a whole generation like baby boomers, right? Like baby boomers after the Second World War, we're going to have COVID babies, right? So we'll have a whole COVID generation, and I don't know what we're going to call them yet, but yeah, in about 9 to 12 months from now, there's going to be a huge spike in children. So anybody, you have a certain amount of time now to set up a baby dedicated business and watch the demand come in.
I saw this couple. The kids, COVID and Corona, they were twins.
Yeah, COVID and Corona are twins. But yeah, those things are going to change. And there's a number of other things that I think that are changing now that will become norms, like the cashless society. So any digital solution for moving cashless is going to work well, because we're kind of moving away from the idea that money is clean. We now know that intrinsically, we know that money can be a matter of life and death for us. So we like the tap now. We like cashless. We like paying online. So shopping online, paying online, any kind of digitization of retail is going to work really well. And the losers, of course, are the ones that are going to lose their demand because of COVID. So malls, for example, we were talking about it earlier. I think small to medium-sized malls are going to suffer. Large-sized malls that have the ability to pivot toward experience, they will still win because we're humans, right? So 300,000 years of momentum in the back of our heads in terms of evolutionary development. We want experiences, we collect experience, and we collect relationships. That's what we do throughout our lives. We collect things, experiences, and relationships. So large malls that are experience-based will still do well, I think, post-COVID. But obviously travel and tourism are going to suffer in the short term. Again, because of the human need for experiences, I don't think they'll suffer too much in the long term, and there will be a spike in travel and tourism. So the challenge for F&B and for travel and tourism is to maintain the bare minimum, but be ready to ramp up immediately, which is why, like, I'm prescribing to my F&B and my hospitality clients, don't let all of your people go. Don't fire them, don't cancel their contracts, put them on unpaid leave so that you don't have to re-onboard and retrain. So you have a standing army. This is basically what we'll call it a standing army. Maintain your standing army in F&B and hospitality, because once this is over, and it will be over at some point, we're humans, we'll kill this virus and we'll move past it. But when it's over, we're going to behave like humans and we're going to want those experiences again.
Yeah. Spenser, we have a question for you from the audience. It says, question for Spenser. In this current environment whereby everything is locked down, how do we continue our sales momentum, especially for financial products where customers are a bit worried about job losses, hesitance to meet sales staff, and so on? I mean, you're an expert on sales and you advise companies through and their sales teams. What's the word out there at the moment? How do you deal with keeping the momentum of your sales?
A couple of things you need to take into consideration. I think you were talking about financial products there. There is a lot of people with a lot of money out there right now. A lot of people thinking there isn't, but we've had a bull run that's been for more than a decade. And so a lot of people have made a lot of money over the last 10 years, and not everybody lost it when the stock market crashed the other day. And so you need to identify your market and identify the people who you would target to do business with. That's the first thing. Secondly, when it comes to the financial markets, it's opportunity time, because the markets are going through a stage of volatility. They came down substantially. They recovered a bit, but there's an enormous amount of volatility out there. So from a financial perspective, there's lots of opportunity for investors to make money. The man on the street that's worried about his next paycheck, or if he can afford, probably wouldn't be my target market right now.
Right.
And the mistake that most people are making is that they're busy not understanding the power of valuable content on social media. They're just busy worried about what they can get rather than what they can give. The world changed, and it changed from what I call push selling to pull selling. When I was young, you'd have to go out there, hunt your prospect down, engage with them, send them a proposal, and hopefully convert them into being a client. And then once they became a client, offer this wonderful after sales service or client relationship or whatever you want to call it after they became a client. Nowadays, that just doesn't exist. People are sick of being sold to. They want to buy. They just don't want to be sold to. So you have to position yourself as what I call a pull salesperson, which is you create massive amounts of value on a consistent and regular basis. You target that value to the audience that you want to do business with, and you'll find that those people will then start to know, like, and trust you. And because they know, like, and trust you, when it comes to making decisions, they'll be more inclined to do business with you than they will your competitors. Now, never more has this been highlighted as right now, this minute, with what we're going through, because so many people are out there wondering where their next client's going to come from. How come my phone hasn't stopped ringing? How come people from all over the world are getting in contact with me? I'm no social media guru, I'm really not. Okay, I don't have the world's biggest audience, but I'm relentless in my pursuit of bringing value to the marketplace, and nobody can ever doubt that. And if you look at my competitors in the space, let's say, of sales training, nobody's doing anything close to that. And if you ask people in this city, who do you know that does what I do? Most people know one or two people. They don't know the 30 companies. They know one or two. And I'm one of them. And so for me, the advice I'd be giving to anyone that's selling anything right now is ask yourself a question. Are you valuable? And number two, does everyone know that you're valuable? And if not, then get in that place quickly.
Right. Well, before I move on to RJ, there's another important question that I have in front of me, and I would like to put it on to you, Spenser, again. It says, I was in corporate job for 20 years and now have left. I'd like to make the transition to being an entrepreneur in Dubai. What do you recommend to do in this transition in a short time? And we have an idea of a project that needs funding. How do I get in front of investors? This is a very important question for us as a company, CreativeZone. We help entrepreneurs, fulfill their dreams. We get a lot of people coming to us wanting to, create their startups. And we're seeing this happening a lot right now. We see a lot of people losing their jobs and realizing that the world has changed. The world is changing, and people need to depend a lot more of creating their own businesses, becoming their own bosses. What would you say are tips to give to these people that want to try and do this transition from being in corporate world into a startup?
Well, I think if you want to leave the corporate world and become a startup or a solopreneur, I think you're nuts. Okay, I think it takes a certain type of individual to want to do that, because what you have to remember is that people get addicted to the paycheck. And when you get addicted to the paycheck, it gives you peace, it gives you comfort, it gives you a stress-free world typically to live in. And lots of people in the corporate world think they have a stressful job to work in. Trust me, take away your salary and have to work out how you're going to find the rent check or the mortgage payment. And that's when stress starts. So first of all, be really, really sure. And the best way to be really sure is not to give up your corporate job. It's to stay in your corporate job and learn the skills you need to learn, and then apply them in your spare time to starting to build something. Now, if in this example, this person has already given up their corporate job, so I'll say a few prayers for that person. But okay, you've got to know what you want to sell, why you want to sell it, what your business is going to do, and who wants to buy it. So do your research. Just because you think something's great doesn't mean the public does. So if you've got an idea or a concept, that's the important thing. When it comes to raising finance, be a brilliant salesperson, because you're going to have to sell your idea to somebody. The amount of startup competitions I've been a judge in where people have had brilliant ideas, but they can't present them or sell that concept to potential investors and lost out, compared to the guy that's got an okay idea, but is just epic at delivering a presentation to make you interested and keen to buy it. That happens over and over and over again. So learn the skills you need to learn. And I can't stress this enough. And I know I lean into it more than anybody else, but it is one of the most important skills you can have in business. And it's learning how to sell your product, sell to your people, your ideas, sell to investors to raise finance. If you can't do any of that, your back's against the wall big time. So take it seriously.
If I can add to that, if you don't mind, Lorenzo, if I can add to that. I know Spenser talked about, I know that Corrie talked about that a bit earlier on, but then it's again going back to when you're a judge for this startup pitches, the biggest question that people will always ask you is, what problem are you trying to solve? Again, Dr. Corrie said it, and I'll say it again, that in all the startups I've had to talk to and mentor, is that's the basic question you must ask. But aside from that one, I always tell people whenever I talk to them is that, don't call it pain points, you call it irritations. I just say, for example, for myself, it's that if I'm irritated by something and somebody else is irritated by something, if you can solve that common irritation, that's where you make money, because your irritation leads towards your inspiration. But it's not only that one. It's not only coming up with that solution, but it's the idea that it's only uniquely you who can come up with that solution, which I call your secret sauce. It's a secret process, an ingredient, your special network, your unique network, whatever you can do to grow that business and to make it big, because it's something, a solution which you can only do. You can stay in corporate long enough, learn a specific skill. When you leave the company, you're solving a pain point that you know exists, that exists in the corporate world, but only you can solve it because you've developed that skill set to do that. Just for example, let
me ask you a question. If you were to set up a company now, to start a new company, today, this week, what would you do?
Yeah, I'll give you a perfect example. I would set up a company really to put together outsourcing. Why is it for me good right now? Or a company that helps distressed companies who need money to find investors who've got money. And that's a pain point right now, because there are many people who don't have any money. They don't know who to turn to. The information is disaggregated. Therefore, the opportunity right now is to say, how can I put together a platform where I can bring all these people together? And if you're an entrepreneur right now, especially when living in Dubai, then you can think digital first. What do I mean by digital first? Because you've got the power right now of using people who can do digital growth marketing, you don't need to have a physical presence anymore. You can put the correct filters together in Facebook, you can in Instagram and content marketing, and pump it out there. Facebook is 50% of it, they're charging 50% of the ads right now. If you got the correct filters in place and you're able to put the ad that you can match people together, you can bring everybody onto your site, put that together, and come up with a site for how to help distressed companies, not just I can get Dubai investors to say, hey, Dubai investors, you got money. I got all these companies here in developing countries and the Philippines where you can put money in right now, and you use digital growth marketing to get to all of them. You're still solving a pain point, but you're using technology right now to solve it, and you're using the cheap costs of Facebook to do it. And that's what people are doing right now. In fact, what people should remember during this time is that it's counterintuitive to actually put more money into marketing. But this is the best time to put more money into marketing. That's what P&G did basically during when they were hard up in the Asian economic crisis, the US economic crisis. What they do is they lessen their money for IT and admin work and finance work, but they put their money behind R&D, behind marketing and sales, because you need a new product to innovate with. You need marketing money to make people aware of it, and you need the sales team to accept all the inquiries you'll be getting through marketing and through digital marketing in particular. So it's still the same. It's still putting up that entrepreneurial mindset, but thinking of it in this day and age where you can use the internet, where you can use social media, and use the cheap cost of Facebook to put up a business. And that's what I'll be doing in a couple of days.
Dr. Corrie, what should people be looking into right now? Is there an appetite from both sides of the things, from investors and from entrepreneurs? If you are looking into setting up now something, what would you do?
Looking into setting up a business now, it would be supply chain. So it would be something in terms, and it would be delivery, home delivery, online shopping. So set up a business that doesn't ever require you to leave your home. You can find your supply online. You can go through Alibaba to find something that's needed in the market. For example, myself, I was looking into white labeling sanitizer and just bringing over containers here and then moving them through the market. I don't ever have to set foot outside of my house in order to get that done on Amazon, because Amazon will handle everything. So look into something that doesn't require you to leave your home, something digital or something in supply chain. I wanted to piggyback on something that Spenser had said. And actually, I want to engage you on this again, Spenser, because I think the thesis of what you had said, it was brilliant, but it all went down to this pinnacle, which, and your big instruction to these new entrepreneurs was, be a brilliant salesperson, which I think is amazing advice, but it can't stop there. And so I want you, without leaning too heavily on Dale Carnegie, give us your top three idea. How do you just be a brilliant salesperson? There's nobody better than you at this in the market, Spenser. So what's your top three pieces of advice for fulfilling that goal?
Yeah, we're taking notes, Spenser.
Okay. Look, to be a brilliant salesperson, you need to understand the number one mistake that people make is they don't think selling is a skill. They think, their grandmother once said to them, they have the gift of the gab, or they were an extrovert personality and they weren't shy. And so there's no university out there that you can go to. I don't know about the Philippines, that I know of in the Western world, you can go and do a 3-year degree course in sales. And that to me is just insane, considering it's one of the most important skills that you need to learn in business. It's not the only skill, but I think it's one of the most important skills. So to be an effective salesperson, you need to first of all appreciate that selling is a profession and it's a skill you have to dedicate to learning. Number two, you have to remember that being an awesome salesperson means you're brilliant at asking questions. Okay, you literally know how to ask the right questions the right way. And also you have a real deep understanding and care for helping people. So you genuinely want to try and solve people's problems. You genuinely want to try and be valuable to people. Where salespeople get it wrong is that they're busy worrying about what they can sell and how much money they can make and what they can get out of a situation. And invariably that leads to, the road to nowhere as far as I'm concerned, because it's short-lived. People that just want to make money for the sake of making money at the detriment of others end up doing themselves no favor in the long run. So first of all, appreciate it's a skill. Secondly, take it really, really seriously and understand that selling is about questions. It's not about talking. You learn nothing when you speak. So by asking great questions, you can learn about people's situations and you can provide solutions to their particular problems. And also care about rapport, care about how you get on with people. And remember, you don't have to sell to everybody. Not everybody is your ideal person. And we've all met people in our time that were like, yeah, I don't really like that guy. And you've probably done business with some people you don't really like. and it's never been fun and you've never enjoyed it. And sometimes you've been tied into some long-term relationship with someone that you don't really like. But find people that you can do business with that share your values and that are just decent human beings, because the vast majority of the population are.
We talked about the ones that are doing well, the ones that we feel have more potential for growth. What about people in this list of attendees that maybe they have a business model that COVID is finally pushed it to the ground and is saying, look, it's time for you to change? Which business? We're talking about the shopping malls. Is the model of the shopping mall going to continue? Is COVID telling us that, you know, the shopping mall structure is changing? What are the industries that in our attendees should be looking at saying, right, if you're in this industry, you should be looking to change?
If I don't mind sharing, I've spoken to so many over the past couple of weeks, and the biggest industry which is going to change, two of them are the service industry and the events industry. In particular, when I'm talking about service, I'm talking about people who do tutorials. I mean, at least physical tutorials, people who do salons, people who do massage. These are the services which have been severely, people go, even the barber shops are going to be I haven't cut my hair since I've been, yeah. I mean, we've had to order the things to shave your head in the house. We're going to learn how to become a de facto barber here in the house. But what we're telling people right now is, okay, you've got to start pivoting from that business model and realize if you're a service business, how can you use digital transformation and bring that experience to the house? And I talked to this very brilliant person who just put up a spa. She was just about to put it up, and she said, what are you going to do right now with your spa, with the people? Well, what we're going to be doing differently right now is this one. We're going to be manufacturing spa kits. They'll be making little spa kits, and they will be sending it over to their clients. And then they can access a video only by their clients to teach them how to create their own spa experience at home. So that's the things that they can do, because they still have to continue to be meaningful and relevant for their clients, at least for the service industry. But the bigger one, which is a big problem here in the Philippines and an industry that I'm part of, is actually the events industry. Events, conferences, seminars, weddings. How can you do a virtual wedding where you're still able to create the closeness among different people? So I'm saying it's a challenge, but once we accept that this is the new business normal, this is how we do things now, no need to look back. It's actually an opportunity to say, you know, the Chinese say that in every crisis there's an opportunity. What's the new opportunity which we can develop right now? Can you be a planner who's able to organize large-scale event conferences, improve the idea of doing these seminars online where interaction is much better than it could have ever been on a physical basis? And if it's a wedding event, what can you do different to make it just as intimate? Are there ways that you can actually bring the ceremony online, make it interactive for people? I mean, I'm just saying that this has to be what's going to have to be done, because this is the case. Now for the malls, we've had the back and forth with all the malls, because, you know, I have friends who've got 50 stores in 50 different malls, and they've got big problems right now. What we're seeing right now is in the Philippines, you know, malls are like parks. People are all over. If they're in Filipinos there, they know exactly how it's like to go to a mall here in the Philippines. It's having for them to accept that this is the new business normal, and physical distancing will have to be enforced. Disinfecting of the malls will have to be enforced, and they'll have to collaborate now with their tenants. No longer can they just say, I need you to pay rent to me even if it's deferred. It might have to be that take a percentage of the sales. Do something to work together with me, but don't. Right now, rent is a bad word for everybody, because it seems like the only people who are going to make money over here are the lessors. And how about the lessees? Because the economy will freeze. And that's what I'm seeing right now, at least for these type of businesses.
I was reading on the comments, somebody was even bringing the issue, and this is something that I feel many people do face. People expect things to be for free online. We get people commenting, well, I'm in the wellness industry, or even for giving webinars and so on. There's a lot of people expecting these kind of services to be given for free. I think there's going to be a mentality to be shifted when it comes to the way we handle those things. So Corrie, you have any comments, any ideas with regards to how things are changing and evolving through these times?
Well, anybody who produces good content gives some of their content away for free. That's what we do. Even as a consultant, when I was able to be physically in front of my clients, I would often go and do 15 minutes to 30 minutes of presentation for free, give them a couple of tips and tricks for free. And that helps to prove that I have the skills to be able to benefit them. And it shows them that I have something to add, and that and if they get the impression that they've only seen 5 to 10% of what I can do, that makes them want to pay. Then the money starts flowing. But it's not until you've given away something for free that you've provided value. Once you provide value first, then people are willing to reciprocate with value provided. So this whole idea of not providing free, we're all doing this webinar today for free because we're providing value. And we know that value provided, content provided online for free, this time, this hour that we're spending together, we're never going to get this back. So once we've spent this hour, it's a part of our lives that is going away. We're never going to get it back. So we have to use it for creating value. We're trying to create value for you because we all identify as entrepreneurs. We've been exactly where you are. We know what you're doing now. And yes, you have to provide something for free in order to prove that you have value that's worth exchanging money for.
Spenser?
Premium, the freemium model. They call it the freemium model. First 10 minutes are free. After that, after it's free, it's exactly like the SaaS model, software as a subscription. Give the first 10 minutes free. If they like it, you can pay for the next one.
Right. You're on mute, Spence.
Sorry. I partially agree and I partially disagree. I have a company called Benapol, which is an anagram of benefits and people, which is a HR platform. And we give that platform to all companies for free. They don't pay anything for it. But what we gain is data. And so we gather a huge amount of data. When people talk about doing stuff for free, there's 104, whatever the number is, of people sat here right now that are listening to this. There's 104 people that you can touch. And maybe the people that they know can be touched too. I produce content every single week for free, but I'm not doing it actually for free. I'm doing it to grow my audience, which has value. And so the bigger my audience gets, I had a conversation with some of you might know who Grant Cardone is. And I was chatting to Grant at dinner a little while ago, and I was unhappy about something. I said to him, there's all these people that take my courses. Yet I know there's only a percentage of them that actually do something with what I teach them. And it really bothers me because I just want people to win. I want people to be successful. And I just want people to grow. And he said to me, well, he said, you're going to struggle with that. And the reason you're going to struggle with that, he said, you've got to remember, he said, that the world is broken. People are broken. People can't even keep their cars clean. They can't even make their bed in the morning. Yet you want to help them become a millionaire by the tools that you teach them. He said, you have to remember that that's not how human behavior works. The percentage that take action are great. He said, rather than try and convert the percentage that don't, he said, just try and grow your world, grow your network. The bigger the network is, that same percentage that do something will become a bigger number. So keep focusing on that. So all of the time, like I'm sat with you here today, I'll take this recording from what we're doing right now. I'll take micros out of it and I'll promote it on my social media channels. I'll build my audience and build my audience and build my database so that bigger and bigger database, the percentage that take action becomes a bigger number. So whilst people might think it's free, okay, it's never for free. If you've got a strategy behind it, it's not. And you, Corrie, will benefit from doing this right now, just as you, RJ, and I will, okay, because there's some value in what we do. Just because we're not getting paid in cash today, okay, although actually, just so you know, Lorenzo did pay me, just so we're not getting... I'm joking.
We gotta talk, Lorenzo. We gotta talk.
Bad negotiators, guys. Just we're not getting paid in cash today doesn't mean we're not getting paid.
No, it's a good point. And actually, I mean, you're very much right. And in a way, I think it's fair. And again, we thank you for your time and effort. And of course, for these 100 attendees that we have there, you should be expecting an email from each one of our panelists today to share a little bit more on what they do. And I'm sure that there's a lot of people that do want to get in touch with you and explore a little bit more on how you can help these companies. a lot of the people in this list of attendees are clients of ours that they're going through changes, that they have their own businesses, that they want to work out, what's next step for them, the future. So I'm sure that there's a lot of possibilities of keeping this conversation open. So we will continue this going forward. So just another 8-10 minutes before we close. Some conclusions of this. What can we expect, RJ? Are we close to going back to normality? Is the normal going to take a while for us to get to? What do you see happening in the coming weeks?
Yeah. Well, I really love the discussion that we had with Dr. Corrie earlier on, that the perspective we've got to take over here is that this is like, it's a war. And we have to think of it, how is it like after, how is it during wartime and after wartime? And the thing is, there's going to be a lot of innovations which occurred during wartime, and during all recessions, during all these different times. What basically happened is that you always think of it this way: that there is an opportunity that comes out of the crisis. I mean, businesses like Airbnb and PayPal came out of this crisis. You never know that some business models that you might have come up with during this crisis might actually become a viable business model. Let me just give you an example from my own business, which is Mercato Central. We have the largest night food market here in the Philippines, and what happened? We had to shut down, and we were serving 50+ small food vendors. So we said we have to look again. What is our brand essence? Our brand essence is that we are a food business incubator. We can do it by a physical platform, a brick and mortar structure where people can go to. But because of this crisis, we've had to pivot and make it digital. We had to go online order taking. We had to figure out to get a fleet of riders to pick up food from the house of the vendor, bring to the house of the client. But we're realizing with that growth of the online delivery, there's such a big underserved market right now of small food vendors who have no way to sell because they don't have a formal store. But there's a big market who wants their food. And we realize that even after this crisis is done, because this is the new normal, people won't want to leave their houses, that they want to get home cooked food, not anymore fast food. We can even grow this business out of this crisis. It might become our new business model. No need to have to actually put up physical stores. We can do what we call right now cloud kitchens, and just have people do their own kitchens from all over Metro Manila, and just say, here, take the order from here, one touch point, but we will deliver to you anywhere. So there are many opportunities which are arising from this crisis. So I don't see it necessarily as a bad thing for people. It gives us a chance to retool our stretch our entrepreneurial resiliency. And another thing people need to take a look at right now is there's so much opportunity. Corrie was talking about the idea, of course, of delivery becoming a key thing. You know, another big market which I see coming up is, can we develop more health and immunity boosting products, food, services, massage? Can you do those spa services which build your immunity? All these different things are going to be growing. Another industry which will also be growing for us particularly are industries not only for, like Corrie talked about the baby boom in the next time month, our quarantines for the future. But what people aren't seeing as well is that our senior citizens are stuck at home and they cannot leave. And our pregnant women are stuck at home and they cannot leave. This is a pain point. This is an opportunity. How can we serve these markets? So I'm saying that right now, although there's a lot of different opportunities, there's so much problems that we're experiencing, it doesn't mean that there isn't new opportunities which we can create. And these opportunities might be your next big business. And that's why I'm still, despite this, as an entrepreneur, I'm still very enthused by all these developments. I do all these talks with Spenser and Dr. Corrie and you, Lorenzo, because I learn so much from what the people's problems are. I'm building my network, and I'm learning how to solve problems which nobody can see, because only I can see the big picture, which I'm sure Spenser and Corrie are seeing, because every time we do these talks, we see the bigger picture and we solve more problems.
And I see there's quite a few examples that you're putting out, that things that perhaps could be implemented here in Dubai and the other way around. So the reason why I wanted you to be here is because you could give us that other side of the story of what's happening in the Philippines, what's happening in other countries. I think this is giving us great value, RJ, and we thank you for that. Dr. Corrie, your take, what's the future like? What's coming next?
Okay, so again, we have to look at this as a war, but it's not a war between people, it's a war between species. And we've always had times of war and post times of war. So there's always been, during a major world war, huge economic and sociological shifts. So after the Second World War, for instance, women working blue-collar jobs in the Western world, that became a norm and it didn't go back. So some things changed. The pivot of manufacturing from cars to ammunition, that changed, and then it pivoted back. So now we have the similar kind of things, like car manufacturers like Ford and GM are pivoting toward the manufacture of ventilators. It will probably pivot back after the wartime is over. But some changes, which are actually accelerants of sociological shifts that have been happening over the last decade, they probably won't pivot back. Things like remote working, cashless society, that's not going to pivot back. Home delivery, online shopping, even for fresh fruits and vegetables, that probably won't pivot back. That'll probably grow into a new norm. So those are the things you want to pay attention to, is the kinds of things that make our lives easier and more convenient without robbing us of the basic human experience, which is connection and experiences and collecting things. We collect stuff, we collect experiences, and we collect connections as humans. So those things probably won't die away, but instead the digital platforms with which we build connections, with which we collect stuff, and with which we collect experiences, those things will become accelerated.
Will the way that we do business change? I mean, we can see now that it's not that necessary to jump on a plane, go to Riyadh over the weekend and go and do 2-3 meetings. I think this is teaching us that there's ways to change this. Are we going to see a change on this? Spenser, and Corrie, yeah, please give us your opinion.
Just really quickly, I don't think this is going to change permanently. The reason is because we have 300,000 years of evolutionary psychology in the direction of needing to make eye contact, right? We build oxytocin through eye contact, through physical touch, through being within proximity of each other and recognizing each other as non-threats, right? We're animals first. The civilized competition of business is only about 300 to 500 years old. That's pretty young in the span of human history. So we'll probably revert back to those old ways, those old best practices of doing things. And we'll want to see each other face to face because we're humans, not resources. So those things will probably pivot back.
And I guess that's going to even gain back in value, right? Because I think we're going to go through a transition and say, okay, well, let's have all these calls through Skype and Zoom and so on. But then suddenly the guy that shows up to the meeting is going to then have value, right?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Things, Spenser?
If you remember many, many years ago, before the internet, we had this thing called mail shots, and they'd come through the door. Junk mail would come through the door, the letterbox. And what would happen is mail would come through the door and you'd pick up the mail. You'd take the first 8 envelopes, tear them up and put them in the bin. And then you'd look at the other one that had a bill, and the other one was a letter. And so that's what you do with your mail. And so most of the time, whatever came through the letterbox, you weren't that interested in. And then obviously what happened is the internet came along and emails came along and people started to get emails, and the open rate on emails was extremely high. And then the open rate started to go down. And then all of a sudden these things came into our outlook, such as spam and junk, which were all new to us, but we started to get comfortable with that. And then we realized that most of the emails we were getting were spam or junk, and some of them were valuable. And now companies that are going through the process of starting to send mail shots through the post are getting much more of an open rate and engagement, because we don't get that much post. So when we get the post, we now open it and now we read it. And that's exactly the same with something that happened many years ago. It was the fear of the cold call, to receive one or to make one. Nowadays, people don't use their telephones as telephones. They use their telephones for many other things. And if anyone is ever making a call to them, it's been frustrating. However, a cold call is unusual nowadays. So people are more likely to listen to that cold call being made than they would have done a while ago. So I think that when it comes to the bit about traveling to Saudi as an example on business, Corrie's bang on the money. The first part of the relationship, I think, will still need that physical human interaction, depending on what it is that's being marketed, sold, or promoted. But once that is established, that relationship's established, I think a lot more of it will go online. So the guy that might have gone once a month to Saudi to go visit his clients might go once to go and create the relationship with the client, okay, and then continue that relationship online. So I think that will happen quite a lot, and I just think that will be normal. There's some really interesting stuff. You have a meeting in Dubai and it's 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. There's always someone that turns up late for that meeting, and it's frustrating. So you have to keep pounding it into them. I'm from the UK, where we say 2 p.m. We mean we're going to be 5 minutes to 2. We're going to be there. What does it mean in your country? And they're like, no, we'll be there at 2 p.m. And then they're late. Yeah. And it's like, because you're wasting your time. But on Zoom and other tools like it, if it's 2 p.m., everyone's there at 2 p.m., aren't they? Everyone's being very punctual. We're far more efficient with our time. And so we'll realize how important those things are. We'll get more comfortable with them. We'll start to build, I think, smart office home type setups. So rather than having a fancy painting on the wall behind us, we'll have something different and it'll look like an office. Maybe we'll have, like they do on Zoom, that screen, that image you can have behind your head, and it will be more officious. But I don't doubt for 1 minute, okay, that the airlines are going to have people traveling less for business than before. They'll still travel because I've got to make that relationship with that guy. But I think things will change. And I think that some of it will be on repetition, like the whole mail shot thing. But I also really do believe that, like RJ said earlier, okay, whether it's Uber, Slack, Square, WhatsApp, Airbnb, Pinterest, which all were established at the back of the financial crisis, this just opens up for creative people to start thinking about problems and solutions and how they're going to implement them. And there'll be some light bulb moments, and some of them will take off and they'll be great, and some of them won't. Most of them won't, because they won't be well thought out enough. And the ones that are great will solve the problems of our current time and our current thinking, just like Uber did all that time ago. I remember when it started, I'm like, what do you need that for? And then 5 minutes later, I had the app and I was addicted to it. And so I think that those things will come along. But I don't see it as negative. I see what we're going through as positive. I think the whole relationship with coronavirus and COVID-19, for me, okay, it's not going anywhere. I've got a million questions from a conspiracy theory point of view. Okay, there comes a point where we have to go back to work. We have to. All right, because people need to buy diapers for their kids. They need to put food on the table. There comes a point where that happens. And so the virus isn't going anywhere. And whether you want to link it to 5G or not is a whole nother conversation. But the fact is, we are going to have to go back to work. All right. You talk about having babies. Okay. The divorce lawyers are laughing right now. They're literally waiting for it. Okay. All those people living in nice big houses might be having babies. Those people in 1-bedroom apartments, it's over. So all those things I think have to be considered too.
Oh, man. On our things, we're still very much impressed on the entrepreneur community, the startups in Dubai. They, as you say, Spencer, you have this community of people that they still want to move forward. They still want to do things. We are daily still setting up companies. People are eager to keep on going. Of course, we are adapting and trying to help those that are being affected with the clients that we've had for many years. And thank God the government itself and the authorities are putting forward some flexibility in the ways that companies are being renewed and stuff. So everybody is taking part of helping each other and adjusting. But I think it's what RJ was saying, it's the amount of opportunities there are still immense. It's a matter of shifting our minds into understanding what are those and just jumping on those opportunities. So just
actually, Lorenzo, I was going to say, talking about your startups in Dubai, why don't they put this in their minds? Why don't you think of a startup that solves a pain point that is caused by COVID-19? I mean, that's one of the first things that the startups can think about right now. And it's you guys are actually in a great position because you aren't as hindered as we are here in the Philippines, where there's almost a lockdown in the country. We can't move around. At least you've got some resources. You can see what's happening around the world. And you've got the technology to fix up those problems here right now, whether it is a solution for COVID in terms of fintech, secure tech, insure tech, health tech. It's all there. And Dubai is placed in just the right position right now. Being in the Middle East, you can help North America or Asia or Africa.
Look, to the attendees, we've received a lot of other questions. We are going to keep all these questions and we're going to address them one by one. We're going to send these questions to our panelists and they're going to be happy to get in touch with you, see how they can help you with some of your queries and so on. Corrie and Spencer, one final comment. Corrie?
Don't give up hope. We, as a human species, we have gone through a lot worse than this. This too will end. So don't allow COVID to drown out your hope. Try to remember that the majority of human experience is based on relationships and connections. So maintain those physical connections with whom you can, and maintain those emotional connections with whom you can. We all thrive on oxytocin, dopamine, and serotonin. So treat yourself like a human. Look for those experiences and you'll get through this. It'll be fine.
Spence?
If you think you can or you think you can't, you're probably right. And right now, this is all about mindset. So you've got to get your head in the right place. And if your head's in the right place, and feed it, learn, spend time learning, spend time educating yourself, but get your head in the right place. If you're walking around with a fear mentality, you're going to lose and you're going to suffer. And that doesn't serve you. And more importantly, it doesn't serve your family. So get yourself in the right headspace and realize that there's lots of people out there seeing this as an opportunity. So you need to get in that place too. And then remember, with that, a massive amount of work ethic, and you might just get somewhere.
Yeah.
RJ?
Yeah. Just going back to the entrepreneurial mentality that Corrie was speaking about. And as an entrepreneur, number one is go back to, again, the idea that if you are a small and medium-sized business or a startup, again, it's all about solving a pain point. And when you solve that pain point, how can you solve it in a specific way that only you can solve it, something uniquely that you can do? And you need to figure out also, is your business something that you can grow? Is it scalable? Is it something that will solve a big problem? But more importantly, the thing we remember, especially in business, in this day and age of social media, in the internet, is that disruption in business is the new normal. And particularly for business, it's disruptive innovation. Whatever business you are will be disrupted. This time around, the disruption did not come from a technological improvement. The disruption was a black swan event, which was a once in a million event, which was COVID-19. But it's still disruption. Disruption is still the new normal. And what do you do when your business gets disrupted? You have to review your pain points, right? You have to review your business model. You pivot again, because that's what entrepreneurs do. It's a constant, infinite game, like Simon Sinek talks about, where you're always trying to solve new pain points, because that's what it's like. But for many of us, I know for Spenser and Dr. Corrie, we thrive on these pain points. We thrive on solving these problems, because you know what? Aside from being resilient, entrepreneurs are either blessed or cursed with the idea of eternal optimism, that we're always going to find a solution for this problem. So guys, together, let's bounce back together from this. We will find the solution to this problem together.
Guys, thank you so much. We cannot thank you enough for this session. I think we maintain an attendee list of about 100 all throughout. It's been an amazing session. We thank you so much. We look forward to keep on working with you. I have one thing that I really like out of here that somebody's commenting, and I give you 1 second each. People are asking what book to read. Give us, each one of you, one book to read during this time. Corrie?
Work Rules, Laszlo Bach.
By who?
Laszlo, Work Rules.
Spenser?
A great book right now, Indistractable by Nir Hiel. And get a read of that, because you need to be indistractable.
RJ?
For me, it's read the book on business model generation, because I think that a lot of businesses nowadays will be about outsourcing part of your business model. You can't do everything in-house right now. So you're going to have to learn how to do different business models in this age of disruption, in this post-COVID world. Just a couple of things. Lorenzo, if anybody wants to do business here in the Philippines, if you want to thinking of outsourcing or offshoring businesses here to the Philippines, because it helps you bring down costs, you're working with a large Filipino expat community, you think you can do more productive work by bringing business over here, please get in touch with me. My website is enterph.com, or Lorenzo can also provide my contact details. Again, thanks so much for the opportunity, guys.
Attendees are asking, can you guys write your email addresses there on the chat box? And then people will be able to contact you directly. And to the panelists, we're going to be sending all of these contact lists to all of you, so you can feel free also to contact them individually and engage in conversations. So we'll leave that open so that people can copy these email addresses. But again, guys, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure. We're going to send these email addresses to all the attendees as well. It's been an immense pleasure, guys. Thank you so much.
My
all
pleasure.
the best during this time, and I'm sure we're going to catch up again soon.
Okay, God willing, inshallah.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, RJ.
Thank you.
Thank you, Spenser. All the best.
Bye.
Thank you to the attendees.